All right, what's going on, everybody? We talked about this yesterday on the show. Dillian White versus Alexander Povetkin. Shocking knockout by Povetkin, fifth round. But much is being talked about now. Was Dillian White 100% focused on Alexander Povetkin because he kept talking about Fury, 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 Fury. Kept seemed to me, I don't know about you guys, but seemed to me that although he was in shape, he was 19 pounds lighter for this fight than he was in his previous fight for Maurice Wack. And, he was 7 pounds lighter than he was for Oscar Rivas. So you can argue that physically he was in shape, or best shape he's been in a while. But regardless of being physically in shape, it's not always about that. It's about being mentally dialed in and mentally focused. So, if you're constantly talking about another fight instead of the one that you got in front of you, then how could you fully 100% be focused on the task at hand, which was Alexander Povetkin? So yeah, you have to question that a little bit. I know Bob Arum came out and he said that he kept talking about Tyson Fury, and meanwhile, got a guy like Povetkin in front of you. Now, obviously, it's hard to not read the press clippings. Like everyone knows, Povetkin's 40 years old, definitely up there in age, definitely turning the corner in his career, and we've seen him get off to some great starts. I mean, he had Joshua hurt in that fight, but for whatever reason, as the fight wears on, he gets caught with a big shot, and he tends to kind of wear down in the second half of the fight. So we've seen this, and I'm sure that in the back of Dillian White's mind, he's probably saying to himself, "I'm in there with a 40-year-old guy." I'm not saying that he wasn't trained properly for the fight. I'm not saying that he didn't have a game plan going in, but again, subconsciously, a lot of things can seep into a person's mind and affect their way of thinking, in a particular situation. So it's just hard to not read the press clippings. It's just hard to not look and you know see Alexander Povetkin's weaknesses and shortcomings. It's just hard to get in there and say to yourself, "I'm not in there with a 40-year-old guy." I mean, that's definitely going to be in the back of your mind. You're not going to be as mentally focused and dialed in my opinion, for Alexander Povetkin as you would be for a Fury. I don't think, you know, let me try to carefully phrase this. Sometimes fear is good. It's good to have a little bit of fear in your brain if you can control it. So was there fear, like fear to the point where it makes you alert, makes you aware of what you have in front of you, in other words? And you could use that fear to your favor, to make you be more alert, to make you be more cautious, to make you be more conscious of what you have in front of you, to make you realize that if I'm not on my P's and Q's here, I can get knocked out and I could lose. Now, obviously, he knew that Povetkin had a big left hook, but what about that uppercut? You know, and again, I said this yesterday. That was just like the perfect punch. It's not like Dillian Whyte did anything wrong. There was just that little space that Povetkin had to thread the needle, and he got it through. And he got it through. So you got to give Povetkin credit for that, but you can also argue that Dillian Whyte really didn't do much wrong there. But Dillian Whyte has looked vulnerable in fights. He looked vulnerable in the Chisora fights. We talked about this yesterday. He looked vulnerable, in the Rivas fight a little bit. Didn't look great in that fight. Looked vulnerable in the Parker fight. Almost got knocked out in the 12th round in that fight. And conditioning wise, he hasn't been consistent. He tends to fade late in fights as well. Now, although the scale said that he was in shape, who knows because regardless, Dillian Whyte always tends to kind of slow down in the second half of the fight. I don't know if that's always physical. It could be mental, but the guy doesn't have the greatest defense in the world. He'll throw that jab and bring it back, and he'll throw it lazily sometimes. It'll bring that jab back down to his chest. So he can get tagged. He can get tagged. And we've seen Joshua hit him with that same type of uppercut in his fight. So he seems to be vulnerable to that uppercut. He really seems to be vulnerable to that uppercut. So that's something to look at. And again, the guys that really give Povetkin problems are the guys that can give him space and distance and keep him on the outside. If you fight Povetkin on the inside, then you can have a hard time dealing with him. He'll have success against you if you choose to fight him on the inside. You got to give that guy space, because if you don't give that guy space, you're going to have a tough fight on your hands if you try to go punch for punch with him on the inside. Anthony Joshua fought him on the inside, and he hurt Anthony Joshua. He rocked him, busted him up a little bit, and then once Joshua created a little bit of space and was able to turn over that right hand and hurt him, that was the beginning of the end for Alexander Povetkin. So I'm not saying that Dillian Whyte fought the wrong fight, because Dillian Whyte, that's the type of fighter Dillian Whyte is too. But what I'm trying to say is, style-wise, Dillian Whyte is a good matchup for Alexander Povetkin, whereas Tyson Fury would be a nightmare for either man, because he could fight on the outside and he can give you distance. And the thing is this too. If you're not going to be able to hold Povetkin and contain him, and you allow him to move his hands when he's up close, because when Klitschko fought him, he grabbed him, leaned on him, and he didn't allow him to move his hands. Guys like Dillian Whyte, guys like Anthony Joshua, they don't know how to hold on the inside. They don't know how to freeze the action. Like, they don't have a mauling type defense when they get up close with guys. Like Tyson Fury can grab guys, lean on them, maul them a little bit, like he did with Deontay Wilder. Even Klitschko grabs guys, leans on them. So guys like that know how to freeze the action. But Joshua and Whyte tend to try to fight guys off them instead of like slow things up. So when a guy gets in their chest, they go into shootout mode and they want to try to fight the guy off him. They want to fight the guy off them. And sometimes that's not always the best strategy, especially if a guy's able to land a good shot and hurt you. You got to be able to freeze the action, grab a guy, maul him a little bit, lean on him, make him tired, wear him out, put him in a situation where he can't move his hands on the inside and he's not getting those hard shots off. Dillian Whyte, style-wise, doesn't have that ability. Just doesn't. His instinct is to fight the guy off. And again, you're not always going to be able to fight the guy off. But, we kept hearing Fury this, Fury that, Fury this, Fury that, Fury this. Same thing with Joshua when he had Ruiz in front of him the first time. Deontay Wilder, Deontay Wilder, Deontay Wilder. And he even admitted that the talk of having to answer questions about Deontay Wilder constantly. And then people keep talking about Deontay Wilder constantly, regardless of who Joshua was fighting. People were talking more about Deontay Wilder than the guy he had in front of him. So that can be a distraction if you allow it to be, if you're a fighter. And I'm sure that seeps into a fighter's mind. But Dillian Whyte himself was the guy who was bringing up Fury more than the press was during the build-up to this fight. He could not get Tyson Fury's name out of his mouth. He constantly was mentioning Tyson Fury's name. Constantly. Just wouldn't stop talking about Tyson Fury. Kept calling him a coward, this, that, and the third. Trying to, bait him into a fight, which is understandable. You want the fight, you got to talk. Sometimes you got to talk your way into the fight. But again, subconsciously, was he 100% focused on Alexander Povetkin? Was he, what were other things creeping into his mind that prevented him from giving full focus to Alexander Povetkin? So that's the thing, man. I mean, Eddie Hearn's talking about, yeah, we're going to get a rematch, and then Dillian White's going to be put right back into that mandatory spot position after he beats Povetkin. But that isn't a given here, guys. That's up to the WBC on what they want to do. That's up to the WBC on what they want to do. Holding and grabbing is still illegal activity that the referee can penalize a fighter for. There's another way to handle when you're talking about. Now, holding and grabbing is like a speeding ticket. It's a very minor infraction. Ali was allowed to do it and Klitschko was allowed to do it their whole career. What is the penalty for holding? What does the referee tell you to do? He breaks you. How often in a fight do you see points taken away for holding? How many points were taken away for Ali for holding? How many points were taken away for Klitschko for holding? So when you say illegal, again, there's types of infractions in the sport of boxing. It's like, is a speeding ticket or a parking ticket the same as getting a DWI? Are the penalties the same? So if you're savvy enough, you can hold long enough and let go of the clinch before the referee even tells you to break. You can grab, lean on a guy, push off, and move your hands. So this whole thing about holding's illegal. So what? So what? What is the penalty for holding in a fight? How often do points get taken away for a fighter holding in a fight? If you've been in the ring before, if you ever sparred, you're actually trained to know how to hold and lean on guys and push off and stuff. You part of training, you learn how to use your weight on the inside. You learn how to grapple a little bit. So, yeah, when you make statements like that, it shows your inexperience and your knowledge of the sport, brother. Sorry to say it. I don't want to sound condescending to you, but when you want to oversimplify something like holding's illegal, yeah, okay, so what? What's the penalty for it? You know? So that's how you got to look at it. You just can't make a simplistic statement like holding's illegal, because fighters have made a living off of holding. They've used holding strategically throughout the course of their career, and if a referee is going to disqualify fighters for holding, then guess what? A lot of guys like Amir Khan, Muhammad Ali, friggin' Devin Alexander, all these guys would have friggin' a ton of disqualification losses on their record because they held. Vladimir Klitschko, even Lennox Lewis. Go back and watch that Lennox Lewis-Mike Tyson fight. Look how many times Lennox Lewis held Mike Tyson. So holding, there's a difference between holding and there's a difference between clinching. When you hold, it's like you're holding on for dear life and you're not letting go of a guy. Clinching is when you grab a guy and you walk him back and you maneuver him and turn him and then you push him off and then you stop punching. Clinch is when you grab a guy forcefully and stop him and then let go quick and then stop punching. So you got to know the game, bro. You got to know the game when you talk. When you make statements like that, I hate to get on you, but for you to make a statement like holding's illegal, that's kind of a very, very simplistic, kind of ignorant statement, bro. You gotta know the sport. So getting back to what I'm saying there, I don't mean to jump on Stormy B, but that's a very, very simplistic statement, bro. So yeah, like I said, you could say what you want about Dillian Whyte coming in at a lightweight, looking better than he's normally looked physically. But once again, as we said, the mental aspect factors into the fight, bro. It factors into the fight. So, that's how you got to look at it. So now there's no mandatory for Tyson Fury. So now that, it's wide open now for him to fight Joshua if he beats Wilder. That's the thing. George DFW says, what do you think of Andy laughing at the White knockout? Well, you really shouldn't laugh at anyone getting knocked out, especially if you're a heavyweight fighter, because anyone can get knocked out. Very rarely do you see fighters that haven't been knocked out in the heavyweight division. How many of the greats haven't been knocked out? Holyfield's been knocked out before. Tyson's been knocked out before. Klitschko's been knocked out before. Lennox Lewis has been knocked out before. Anthony Joshua's been knocked out before. All the great heavyweight champions of the past have been knocked out. Joe Louis has been knocked out. Very few fighters or heavyweight champions haven't been knocked out. Who hasn't been knocked out? Rocky Marciano? Who else? Who else hasn't been knocked out? When you think about it, go down the list of all the greatest heavyweight fighters of all time. Joe Frazier was knocked out. George Foreman was knocked out. He's been stopped a few times. Stormy, just let it go, bro. The problem with you is you try to oversimplify things. You make blanket statements, bro. You make blanket statements. And for you to just say holding is illegal, it's an ignorant statement, because anyone who watches the sport of boxing knows, bro, that holding is a part of the sport. It's actually a tactic that fighters use because they know they can hold, because they know the penalty is fight to get out or release the clinch. They're going to be, so don't sit there and act like you don't know more about the sport than me, because you've never been in the ring. I was in the ring before. I was a novice amateur. Okay, when I held in a fight, the referee told me to break, or I would release the clinch before the referee could tell me to break. So if you're going to sit there and say that holding is not an integral part of the sport of boxing, then you just don't know what you're talking about. So I have over 20 years experience here in Chicago. Doing what? Doing what, bro? What have you done? I have over 20 years experience here in Chicago working with fighters. I didn't say clinching. You need to know what you need to know who you're talking to. Dude, I'm not impressed, bro. I've seen you talk about, I've seen you on YouTube, and the comments you've made about Glovegate, that shows me right there that you don't know shit about boxing. If you think if anyone sits there and thinks that a guy could have his hand halfway out of a glove and generate power, anyone who thinks that, right there, you disqualified yourself from me respecting your opinion as an analyst. That's just the way it is, bro. And now when you make a statement about holding being illegal and fighters shouldn't be able to do it, that's another stupid statement, because again, arguably the greatest heavyweight fighter of all time in a lot of people's mind, Muhammad Ali, made a living off of holding. So for you to make a stupid statement like that, I can't respect your opinion, bro. That's just me. I can't respect your opinion. You want to keep going back and forth with me, man? I'll continue to embarrass you because you're making no sense. You can't debate me. You don't have my knowledge, bro. You don't. Anyone who's biased like you don't have. You can't. I can't respect your opinion, bro. You debate with emotion. I debate with facts. My facts will beat your emotion any day of the week. You prove me wrong, I'll take the L. Show me an example where, a guy will get the majority of guys that hold. How many disqualifications have you seen from holding? I've seen one in my whole life. Henry Akinwande got disqualified for holding. That's the only fighter I've ever seen get disqualified for holding. Only fighter. So again, know what you're talking about, bro. Sitting there saying that holding is not a part of the sport. That's total ignorance, bro. It's total ignorance. Yeah, so I don't want to get sidetracked too much here, man, because I can't debate with people who ain't on my level intellectually when it comes to the sport, bro. I just can't do it. Sorry. So yeah, I mean, Eddie Hearn thinking that he's going to exercise a rematch clause and automatically White's going to be mandatory again. That's ridiculous. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself this, and we talked about this yesterday on the show. If Dillian Whyte was like a PBC fighter, would he have gotten a title shot already? Did Eddie Hearn really do enough to maneuver him into a title shot spot? Obviously, this is my opinion, and again, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes over at Matchroom, but it's not hard to really figure out that Anthony Joshua is the main focus over there, bro. He's the cash cow over there. He's the main guy. He's the guy that everybody really, he's the guy that Eddie Hearn focuses on. So you mean to tell me that he's more concerned about making a Dillian Whyte Tyson Fury fight than he is an Anthony Joshua Tyson Fury fight? I mean, come on, let's just be real about it, guys. Let's just be real about it. We know that Eddie Hearn is more concerned and more focused on making a Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua fight. So you have to really question how hard Eddie Hearn was working behind the scenes to make sure that White got that title shot. So it is what it is. And you can say whatever you want, but in my opinion, I'm not saying that White didn't deserve to have that slot. I mean, we've seen worse fighters in those mandatory slots, but in my opinion, there was still a lot of guys that could beat White. I just thought White was just so vulnerable defensively and just conditioning wise, seeing him fade late in fights, seeing him get hit. I thought Chisora won the first fight. I thought Parker probably should have got the decision in that fight because what happened was one of those knockdowns was caused by a headbutt. This is just my opinion. Again, you can go back and watch it. One of those knockdowns that White scored was caused by a headbutt, and it shouldn't have counted. So if you take that out of the equation, then Parker wins that fight, in my opinion. So, and then the whole situation with Rivas with the gloves, and I still think you could argue that Rivas was in that fight. I mean, that was a competitive fight, bro. That was a competitive fight, in my opinion. So, it is what it is. I mean, White's been stopped before with that same identical punch from Anthony Joshua. So it's safe to say now that he's susceptible to that shot. He can get knocked out from that shot. So, we don't have to question anything. Joshua is the big fish who was signed to Hearn. White is a fight by fight client, nothing to question. Well, I mean, he's a fight to fight guy for a reason, because Eddie Hearn doesn't feel like he should put the effort into signing him. He doesn't think he's worth signing a long-term deal with. There's other fighters that Eddie Hearn's got under his Yeah, I don't have the phone lines. Maybe you want to. You know what I'll do? I'll let you on, bro. I'll let you on. I'll let you on. There you go. Anyone who wants to jump on, they can jump on. We can debate. Stormy, you nitpicking, which is what you always do, bro. Holding and clinching, however you want to do it, bro. It's the holding and clinching is similar. Let's look up clinching. Want to look up clinching in the dictionary, Stormy? You want to get technical? Let's look up clinching and let's look up clinching in the dictionary and watch what the definition is. Okay. Let's read. Let's look up clinching definition. Here's a definition. Here's the definition of clinching. Once again, you're gonna get embarrassed again, like you always get embarrassed. I'm gonna read to you the definition of clinching. Okay, to hold an opponent, as in boxing, at close quarters with one arm or both arms. To hold fast or firmly. That's what clinching is. So clinching and holding are very similar. Okay, that's like saying when you hit somebody, slapping and hitting somebody are two different things. They're very comparable, bro. So again, stop debating me. I'm that level in the video game you can't beat. Just take the L, bro. You're not gonna beat me. EJ, what's up, Daddy?
Yo, what's going on, Beeb? What's going on, people? What's going on, Trey? I'm good, man. What's going on, bro?
How you doing, man? So what's going on? Like, what is the deal with this Dillian Whyte situation? You think he was yapping too much about Fury? You think he got distracted, or what do you think?
Yo, what's up, Trey?
No,
I got the inside scoop, man. I got the inside scoop and everything, man.
Can you talk about it or no?
Yeah, I already pull it out. Like with I had an interview with Jonathan Banks yesterday. I just interviewed James Ali Bashir. I just talked to Dillian's coach like 6 hours ago. I've been knowing what's been going on. Basically when it comes to the camp, yeah, they made Dillian a bit too relaxed. You know what I'm saying? It's a bit too relaxed, playing around. As you can see with the tracksuits, coming with the same tracksuits of Povetkin.
Shout out to Brandon Turner. Shout out to Brandon Turner. He wanted a shout out. Sorry, EJ. I had to shout him up before I forgot. Shout out Brandon Turner. Go ahead.
That's cool. Bringing in a coach in the last minute, dividing Dillian's attention, giving Povetkin too much respect when you've knocked him down twice. Dillian interview with Telly Atlas on Telly Atlas's channel saying Telly Atlas actually gave him the blueprint of actually trying to tell him what to do. He said when you're a young guy, you be fast, be quicker, come in to test them, test the old champion and pull it on him. And then Dillian said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to be technical. We're going to break him down. I'm out technique the guy who's been a long reigning gold medal champion. So Dillian's thing was to basically outsmart Povetkin by breaking him down by round. And when when the opportunity was there, when he knocked him down twice in the corner, which is I feel this is where the error came. They told him to continue jabbing. He's still dangerous. Now with Dillian, he worked on his passion, his emotion. He should have came out there and ferociously came after Povetkin and been on it. Not uneducated, but educated. So when Dillian came out that ring, he was confused about his normal nature than trying to make him a technical boxer. Povetkin put his hand out and Dillian obliged him. It's like what Telly is a silent agreement. So they touched gloves. And then it was on. It was on there. And Dillian went back through a right hand, Povetkin slipped, right up, came up through the middle. And it's just a lack of understanding game plans in the ring. I talked to Jonathan Banks. He said when Klitschko fought Povetkin, they had numerous game plans. He said the first game plan when Vladimir fought Povetkin was to box on the outside and keep him out. So the moment you're going to hurt him at some point, Jonathan Banks said he's going to be like an old grizzly bear. He's going to come for you. When he does that, you basically rough him up. So I don't think the game plan in that corner at the time when he knocked Povetkin down twice, they never changed their game plan. And Povetkin adjusted like a smart amateur, former champion did. And he adjusted and that was a knockout. So that's more or less why I got to say, man.
Do you think that Dillian could have kept him on the outside a little bit more and tried to soften him up a little bit from the outside before he moved in and started ripping the body? Or do you think he should have just went right at him like he was doing?
Listen to this, BB, yeah? When you got a window wide open, yeah, and it's shutting. You better do your stuff before it shuts. The window was already open. The guy's confidence was rattled. You knocked him down twice. He hasn't been down twice in a round for a very long time. The Russian corner, apparently, in interpretation, was saying if you get knocked down, we're gonna stop the fight. So he didn't have to knock Povetkin cold. He just needed to flurry him. And the referee seemed like deemed to see he wasn't, he couldn't protect himself, and the fight would have been over. So they would pay the too cautious, because if you're given, you remember, to be a legend killer, you need to kill the legend. When De La Hoya went against Chavez, he couldn't pay him no respect, even though he's a Mexican hero and all that. I couldn't do that. He couldn't do that. He had to go and take it to him. He beat Chavez like Chavez done something to his family, bro. Dylan didn't do that. He was just waiting around, giving him too much respect. That was from the corner. They brought their insecurities, being 5 foot, whatever his height, brought their insecurities into the court, into Dillian. Dillian's a big man. He's used to, he got where he has a number 1 contender by raw will and ambition. And that, I felt that was the missing point of the adjustment in the fight. So I feel like when we talk about jumping it, we mean educatedly jumping it. I mean, when Jonathan Banks said he should have opened up with more combinations, at that point, you know what I'm saying? But it was just still playing the technical, slow-paced game with Povetkin. Povetkin knew he had one shot. He knew one shot. Go forward. When he throws, just roll underneath and come underneath. That's all he did. That's it.
Shout out to Ohio Runs Boxing. He says White is vulnerable to uppercuts. Been down 3 times from uppercuts. Okay,
let's step in now.
Go ahead, Troy. Jump in, bro.
Yeah, it's easy to say this and that and what if right now. Let me tell you what I saw. Right. First of all, Dillian wasn't as fluid as he usually is. He's not really a very fluid fighter, but he looked a little stiff to me. But I'm not taking anything away from the Russian. He executed something that no top heavyweight today can really do. What he did was he jabbed and he faked the hook and stepped right in with that uppercut. I don't know any other top heavyweight that's schooled like that today. All right? So it's really, Dillon had no defense against that. None whatsoever. You mentioned Joshua's, uppercut. That's really just a lead uppercut. He doesn't fake with it at all. You see it, and he usually attacks when you're hurt. This dude caught him when he wasn't hurt. So he had to set that up. He's just a very well-schooled fighter that saw opening, and he took his shot, and White wasn't ready. He just plain old, he didn't see it, and he couldn't defend it, and that was that. I don't think Fury has anything to do with it. Wilder, anything else that anybody said. It was a beautiful executed shot that he did not see coming. I'll give you a perfect example. Donald Curry against Mike McCollum. Mike McCollum did a similar thing to Donald Curry. He faked like he was going to the body, caught him with that hook, fight over, right? You can say what you want about that. You can't defend certain shots. It's basically when you're fighting a fighter that's well-schooled and can carry out certain things, there's nothing that you can do. You just can't defend against everything in there. You really can't. So I see him beating him in the rematch, though. He's going to be, and honestly, I don't think White should come in any heavier than 240 because of his frame and everything. I really don't. He shouldn't be 250 anything. But that's my thought.
So EJ, let me ask you this: do you think that the WBC is gonna automatically make White the mandatory again if he wins in the rematch? Because I don't think the fight's going to be billed as an eliminator. No.
What I think is that it was a voluntary. His status of the WBC was never put on the line, even though they put that out there. What the WBC would probably they'll probably make Povetkin a higher ranking guy, and maybe they have to put the WBC on the ranking because the belt was there and things. So I think if he wins the fight, he keeps his ranking. Eddie Hearn, it's all about money and stuff like that, and money talks, everything walks. So, but the Russians got money behind them as well. So I think he probably keeps his status if he wins. But I don't see him winning the fight. I don't really feel. I'm not confident on winning the fight. Povetkin was old. He went through some stuff from Hunter. He'd been on the floor against Dillian. This guy's battle harder. He's only going to get better. And when he went home, I saw the reception in Russia. He likes it, man. He's getting back that attention, bro. He's going to be feeling himself, bro. So if he was to win the fight, Dillian would retain. He's the number one status is the answer to the question. And like I said to you, I did point out, in the round, Dillian's attitude, he wasn't switched on. What I said to you, I mean, you don't come out the Beeb, yeah. If a man knocked you down twice and you touch gloves with the guy, why are you touching his gloves for? You know? And then, you know, you saw what happened. So he needs to be the old Dillian, the raw aggression Dillian, and let's see how that happens. But yeah, I think he retains his #1 status if he wins the fight.
So you think in a rematch that WCO is going to put him right back in the #1 slot? But see, my whole thing is this. I think the WBC wants that unification more than anything in the world. They love to have those unifications. They love to be able to get them saying, you know, to be a part of them big money fights with Joshua. Everyone wants to be part of that Joshua Fury fight, man, because anyone who's involved in that, they're getting paid one way or the other. Mm-hmm. So if making Dillian #1 again is going to be a deterrent to putting that, like what I'm thinking is if Dillian wins the rematch, then they're going to have like the mandatory slot kind of vacant for a while. So in the hopes that they could make that unification first. So, you know, ultimately it will be the WBC's decision what they want to do. And we can speculate all we want, but it's going to be their decision, you know, that they have every right to do what they want with that mandatory slot, enforce it however way they want to. So we're going to have to wait and see, but it's going to be interesting because Eddie Hearn seemed to be pretty confident that automatically White would regain that spot if he wins the rematch. I'm not so sure about that.
Listen, right? Nothing's going to stop the fight between Fury and Joshua because it's the biggest thing going right now and there's too much money. But I keep hearing about this man's age, and I ask the same questions. Who's actually beating him up? And who's actually beating him besides two of the very best? Everybody that he's fought in his last couple of fights have been younger than him, and he's either stopped them or beaten them. So what does his age have to do with anything? He's just a well-schooled fighter. The fact that he's 40 has nothing to do with it. Nothing.
Well,
because he's
apparently it didn't have nothing to do with it on Saturday because he won the fight.
It didn't have nothing to do with his last fight either. It didn't have nothing to do when he fought Price either, did he? He was hurting that fight, but he came back and stopped him, right?
Yeah, he looked good against Hunter
Same
too.
Thing with Tamkin. Same thing with Tamkin and everybody else.
Yeah, he looked good against Hunter too. You know, when he fought Michael Hunter.
See, okay, listen, this is what people forget sometimes. He was trained by Teddy Atlas for the longest of times. So you have to figure this. He does have that kind of Eastern European type movement, but he also has that Customato type thing where he'll explode on you and then come back. So once you put all that together, you have an explosive knowledge of things. Because he's very knowledgeable and he has great eyes, which is why he was able to see that Dillian was wide open for uppercut. Because let me tell you what, I was on another show and I saw it, but I said that White should fake off the jab and throw the uppercut. Obviously my words traveled to the wrong damn corner, right? So and then White ended up getting knocked out. But I don't take anything away from that cat. It was a beautiful, beautiful move that you don't see nowadays. And you could say Fury, you could say Wilder, you could say Joshua. None of those guys could do what that man did. None of them, because they're not schooled in it.
Yeah. So who wins the rematch, EJ? So you think Povetkin's going to win? You think Povetkin's going to win the rematch, or you think White's going to win?
Well, I talked to the coach. I talked to Dillian's coach, like I said to you 6 hours ago, and I said to him, "Let's go back to the 4th round. You've knocked him down twice. Is there anything you want to change? If you knew the outcome?" He said, "Nope. We're gonna do the same. We're gonna do the same thing. We're going back to camp. I think he's seeing it as a lucky punch, maybe, and they're gonna do the same thing." When I heard the strategy that Dillian on Teddy Atlas's channel, and Teddy Atlas interviewed Dillian, and Dillian said he's gonna out technique the guy who's more superior to technique, I put money down and I won some money because I already knew that's the wrong game plan. So if he's gonna do the same game plan, and they don't change anything, which it sounds like the head coach is gonna do that, then the same outcome is gonna be he's gonna get hurt. In fact, Jonathan Banks, when I talked to him, and so did Mr. Bashir, they adamantly, both of them said that they shouldn't take the rematch, but it's gonna happen in December regardless. But they wouldn't have took it. They wouldn't have took it because Povetkin is gonna be infinitely more better than he was before. So it doesn't look good for Dillian. And especially the coach is not really changing anything. He feels like, it was working. We was knocking him out, but that's the in-ring adjustments that guys do. And I always say this, right? and Angela and D. I listen to loads of coaches because like I said, I interview them. I'm an amateur coach myself, you know, and I listen to pro coaches. One thing Angela and Dennis said: when you got a tall fighter, you keep him tall. When you got a short fighter, keep him short. It's not hard. It's not. That's what this is the Angela and D. It's simple. When you got Povetkin, who's a short fighter, just not that much short, but he's shorting him, coming forward him. Why would you exchange with him up close? Why didn't you tie him up immediately?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying.
That's all you do. This is this. But you see, because the coach now is shorter than Dillian, and he had the body bag in there. He's got him exchanging it. So you're basically gambling. You're basically gambling. I said to the coach, I said, bro, like, I know you got some big body shots in there, but don't you think, yeah, you have to smother him when he comes in and just don't fight in the area. You just don't fight. Lennox Lewis is a master of beating short guys. He kills them, and he learned
freeze the action up close. You got to freeze the action up close.
Exactly. He learned that when he went to the Catskills when he was young, and Mike Tyson was young, and he got beat up by Mike Tyson in sparring. But he said, "Yo, thanks for that." But he never got beat up by no short guy ever again because he don't let them fight where they want to fight. He fights them. Yeah. Referee comes in, breaks, and keeps sending that. So I was putting it up, but the trainer, he trying to get Dillian in that aspect of fighting that way, and cautious and technical and stuff like that. And that's not in this fight. He didn't need that. You knocked him down. Dillian, that's what confused him. He didn't need to wait around. He should have jumped on it. I understand what Vetkin's bringing, but if you give the guy respect when you touch the gloves, just after you knocked him down twice, and Povetkin puts his hands out, and you touch gloves, then it's on, bro. That shows Povetkin now you don't want it because you know Dillian's a bit of a bully. And you see the man getting up like Jason twice. His eyes opened up wide, like, yo, what am I going to do to keep this guy down? Why he's thinking, he's pressuring him. He threw a punch, rolled under, left uppercut, and shebang, bro. So I feel the same result.
I gave Povetkin the first 2 rounds of this fight. I don't know how you guys scored it, but I thought he won the first 2 rounds, and I gave White, obviously, the second 2. But I thought the fight was close. Well, yeah. I thought the fight was close, but obviously the knockdowns factored into the scoring. But before those knockdowns occurred, I thought the fight was close. I thought.
What was your score? What was your scorecard? Because I didn't win in one. I didn't have Povetkin. What was your scorecard? I didn't win by that jab. What was your scorecard?
I had Povetkin winning the first 2 rounds, and I gave Dillian Whyte the next 2.
Well, I do amateur judging. I already knew in UK what they were doing. Now, officially, that's fine. But when I already knew what was going on, I gave the 2 rounds to White, and I gave the knockdown to White. So he was considerably up on the scorecards, what I thought they would do. And on my scorecards, I was going by what I think the cleaner punches by just putting the jab. That's what I was seeing. But I was scoring the body work. They don't score. They don't stay in England. They ain't scoring no. They don't. They ain't scoring the. They don't.
Did you give Povetkin any rounds, or did you give White all the rounds?
Nah, I didn't. I gave all the rounds to Dillian. That's how I scored it.
What'd you do, Troy? Did you give White? Did you give White all the rounds too?
No. To tell you the truth, I'm going to agree with something AJ said. He wasn't busy enough, and I could see him thinking, which is why I said he wasn't being fluid. He usually is a guy that he reacts faster, Dillian. But I saw like a split-second pause every time he threw a punch. Like he was saying to himself, "What should I do next now? What should I do next now?" Right?
Well, I thought Povetkin was pressing the fight. I thought Povetkin was definitely.
I don't think that's his nature. When you train a fighter, honestly, you should train them to their strengths. If his strength is to be volatile, then you teach him how to control that. But at the same time, you teach him how to use that because you don't want him to lose that. You don't take it away. It's like you have a sharp knife and you use it as a blunt object. No, you don't. You use it to slice and But I think he was thinking entirely too much and he wasn't fluid. And as far as changing the game plan up for the next fight, I would have him throw more jabs, just focus them on the man's chest and focus them, on where you want him to move. If you want him to move to the right, fire it at the left. Just don't throw the jab, have a purpose for it.
Because White's got a good jab, bro.
He has a powerful jab, but his technique is very ugly. Tell you the truth, I compare him to Bernard Hopkins. He doesn't have any special skills, but he's very determined and he's very He's very well schooled, and he gets the job done. Bernard Hopkins was never the fastest. He was never the biggest puncher and all that, but he won because he basically knew what he was doing in there, and he understood what he had to do. I think White has a similar mentality, with the exception of being able to punch.
I got you.
I mean, this thing is, it's got so many people talking backwards and forward. The bottom line is that Spencer Fury, I thought that Spencer Fury said they divided the attention in their corner. You got one coach saying one, even though they agree with him, they're both trying to play it safe. And I don't know, man. I just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, when it comes to Povetkin and stuff like that, you got to think I'm a legend killer. You can't go in there. You see a certain amount of respect you give a guy, but bro, when you see the guy falling, you know, after you hitting him, he's dropping the deck, bro. He's ready to be taken, man. He's ready. What do you think he gonna do? He ain't gonna sit there waiting for you to just break him down. You need to go and step on the gas, open it. Manuel Stewart. Go back to Manuel Stewart and Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, he looks like he's ready to be took. Man, I was wondering why you look right. Why was Manuel open up on Lennox Lewis? You know why he opened up. Man, who's staying there? The longer you stay in there, he gonna hit you with some shit. Get this man out. He's a dead man. That's what you do, man. You wake up Dillian and make him urgent, put some sense of urgency in him. You don't get paid for overtime. Take this man out, bro. Go in there and stamp down on him and finish him off. The guys played it too safe in there, man. And they're going to do the same bullshit because, like, you know, like I said to you, right now, you know, I talked to the coach. He said he hasn't gone watch the footage. He hasn't watched the footage yet. But he more or less said they're going to do the same game plan. And he think the game plan worked, but what he didn't. What I try to say to you is there's the essence of the passions of the man. You know what I mean? The passions of Dillian is what people expect. You know what I'm saying? So, but Dillian realized that this is the best fight. But you know, I don't know how much respect you got to pay for a guy. You know, we can talk about after the fact, but bro, I saw this guy going down, get hit down again. The end of the round finished, and then Dillian came out and touched his glove. So. I mean, boy, if that's not a sign of saying, you know, don't go hard on me. I mean, I don't know what to say. You know, it's boxing, man. I wouldn't touch his gloves. Touch my gloves for what, man? I'm gonna beat your ass again. Straight, you're going down again. Dillian didn't come with that mindset, bro. He lets Povetkin stalk him, and then you saw what happened in it. You know what I'm saying? He goes home with the belts or whatever. So,
is David Caldwell the right man for the job in Dillian White's corner?
Well, David Caldwell never saw Dillian even hit the bags when he came there. Let me tell you that. David Caldwell got called. Now, let me tell you how this worked, right? So the Xavier Miller and Dillian sit there in the camp. They're in Portugal for 4 months, right? And Xavier Miller said, I need someone more experienced. Now, his main guy he calls was getting married, but he said, I need someone else. So he sent a message out to Dave Caldwell, who's going to be at their fight night. He was going to be at the camp anyway. I don't know who's calling me. Okay, 1 second. I'll answer that. Yeah, he was gonna be there anyway, right? So what happened is that Dillian then knows Dave Caldwell was good friends with him. He then called him and said, I want you to be part of the camp. But Dave Caldwell never see Dillian hit the bags. He was there for the glove situation, but he never see him really train or anything. So his impact was probably minimum because the game plan was there already. I got a call, man. Back in a bit.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? I was gonna say that he mentioned the name. That's EJ. Jonathan Banks is who I had in mind that should really train White. He has a way of training a fighter from their strengths. He's very subtle with what he does, but he actually knows how to train a fighter from their strengths. And I think that he would be a very good trainer for White. It was either going to be him or the
Sugar Hill's
the brother that just passed away.
Naseem.
No, I wasn't thinking Sugar Hill. Yeah, Naseem. I was thinking him, but he passed. So Banks is the here and now, and I would say that Banks would fit him because he has a very strong personality, and Banks has a subtle but firm personality. So that's a good fit right there, right?
Sure.
And
sure.
I just think he needs someone to bring out the very best in him. But also, I said this someplace else. This loss yes, it hurts, but it also sets up something that most fighters don't have nowadays for White. And tell me what that is. A career-defining fight.
Yeah, set something up for yeah.
That's exactly what it sets up. So if he comes back and he wins this in spectacular fashion, boom, he's back where he is. But then there's talk of maybe a third fight. It all depends on, well, how the Russian looks, and it all depends on how he looks. But he really does not need to fight over 240. Like, okay, in the rematch with Chisora, if he was 236, right? That's perfect for him, I think. 240, 236 is perfect for him. But go ahead, man, because I know you want to say something. I'm just talking.
No. I think what really hurt Dillian Whyte was when he got up to like 280, and now he tried to take all that weight off, and he could only get down to 252 because he was so heavy. He was like 270, 280-ish.
He was
So
275, but I think what hurts him is this. What hurts all fighters. You need to stay focused and not get any bigger than 5 to 10 pounds overweight. Do not tell me that can't happen, because Bernard Hopkins is a perfect example of the fact that it can happen. When he wasn't fighting, he never went he never went to 170. He always stayed around that weight where, when it was time to fight, all he had to do was just really sharpen up. And I think if White had someone that could stay on him like that and say, just keep in shape, then he would just constantly get sharper instead of having to, start from zero to try to get to 10 every damn fight, right?
Yep. Shout out to Alexander Wilson in the chat. He says, thank you for the super chat. He said, what's interesting is that Dillian Whyte got knocked down with the same punch from Rivas. So Ben Davison said he has a bad habit of leaning forward. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Especially when it's funny because he does lean forward, but when he jabs, it doesn't really seem like he steps in with his jab. Yes, he does lean forward and his hands are split apart slightly. I saw that, and I saw that with the Russian as well. How he keeps his hands are split apart. But
let's take a look. Let's take a look at some of Dillian Whyte's weights in his biggest fights. Now, for Anthony Joshua back in 2015, he was 247. For David Allen, he was 245 and a half. For the first Derek Chisora fight, they have him listed at 246 and a quarter. For Helenius, so then after that, he went up to 260, but then he got back down to 247 for Helenius, 254 for Lucas Brown, 258 for Joseph Parker, 246 for Chisora.
Okay, it was 240s.
Yeah, and then 259 for Rivas, but then he got up to like 271 in his last fight before this one. It
was some factors in there though, man, because at the time he was being jobbed on the whole B sample. He was never dirty. Yeah. I mean, he's just gone through some things. But at the same time, as a fighter, you should have this type of mentality that says nothing's going to stop me. Just have a steel focus, Because if you look at again, I'm going to go back to Hopkins. He was basically blacklisted for like a year or plus after from boxing, and he took that time to learn the business. He learned it so well that he basically didn't have a manager after that. He handled his own business.
When Dillian Whyte turned pro, he turned pro at 211. Then he was like, in his next fight, he was 204. Then he was 203. Then he was 226. Then he was 210. You know what's crazy about Dillian Whyte, and I could be wrong here, but there's so much volatility in the weight. He goes up and down so much. It's almost like he's an emotional eater. You know what I'm saying? Like
That's exactly what he is.
He seemed like he just likes to eat because depends on what's going on in his life. Because you just said it, like when all that drug scandal stuff was going on and stuff, he ballooned up in weight, and he came into the fight 270 something. So it seems like this guy's an emotional eater, man.
I just think he's emotional, period. But it comes out a lot of times, like you said, in food. But let me say this, because I was talking to a couple of people in the chat about Wilder. Wilder would have never beat Whyte because number one, he does not fight punchers. You don't have to take my word for it. Look at his career. Then please don't say Ortiz. Ortiz is a guy that can hurt you, but he's not going to take you out with one punch like
He's
White
not a
can,
one.
right?
Ortiz ain't a
No,
one punch guy. He's not a one punch
no,
guy.
no. He doesn't. He doesn't fight punchers, and then on top of that, he doesn't do anything but jab, jab, in the right hand. So once you can get past that, we saw what happens, right? And
Yeah.
and then people are talking about, well, White got knocked out cold. Let me explain something to you. As a guy that, just like you, I was an amateur, I would rather win the fight, of course, first of all. But if I'm going to go out, I'd rather go out like White. I do not want to have someone kick my ass for 7 rounds and not win 1 second and 1 minute of a fight. Understand me? I'd
Yeah,
rather have you knock me out cold.
You don't want to take a sustained beating and have your head get smashed in round after round after round, because obviously that's going to be more detrimental to you physically
Exactly.
than just being put out. You know what I'm saying? I agree with that. I agree with that.
And then I got one more thing I got to speak on, and then I think I should just be quiet. But
no, you can talk as much as you want. I've been said almost everything I gotta say. So you can talk as long as you want, bro. Talk as long as you want.
Because to me, at 49, I've been watching boxing since I was 14, 15, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is the weakest era of boxing, and I can prove it. No era that I personally lived through were the senior boxers coming out of retirement and getting more attention than the current top fighters. No era of boxing that I lived through were the senior fighters coming out and saying, I will challenge all the top fighters. I don't give a damn. I really don't.
Yeah, you're right, man. You're right. You got
Once
guys
they
like,
left,
yeah.
once they left, the senior fighters, and they saw the lay of the land, they're like, I'm not getting back in there. So they weren't getting back in there.
Yeah.
These cats now are young and they talk. They don't fight. How are you going to start a negotiation with $10 million? Why are you going to start at a price that you've never made before, Thurman? Why?
That was ridiculous, wasn't it?
That was a cop out. He didn't freaking cop out.
He didn't want that fight, bro.
No, he didn't want the fight. He just wanted to say that he challenged him. He didn't want the fight. No, because in all reality,
Go ahead.
No, because I'm going to say, where are they going to get the $10 million to pay him and then pay Crawford now when there's no live gate and all that going on? Where's it going to come from?
Yeah, that's true. Well, man, let's be honest. Mike Tyson's still probably a bigger name than anyone in the heavyweight division right now. Like Mike Tyson could walk down any street right now in any country, anywhere, and people are going to be like, "Hey, that's Mike Tyson." Now, Joshua's popular, Fury's popular, Wilder's popular in certain areas, but these guys can't go anywhere. Like if Joshua came to the United States and walked down the street and walk down friggin' Broadway in Revere, nobody know who he was. But if Mike Tyson did, everybody'd be jumping, taking pictures and shit. So, Mike Tyson and Roy Jones, as crazy as this may sound, it's probably going to be the biggest fight of the year, bro. In terms of pay-per-views and just media attention and all that.
And you know what? I can tell you this. You could name any sport you want to right now. There's nobody bigger than Tyson, and he's not even fighting. I mean, he's going to do this thing with Roy Jones, but he hasn't won a fight or fought in years. But take basketball, football, boxing. Name
probably
one
guy, Michael Jordan.
Who?
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan? No. Mike Tyson's always been bigger than Michael Jordan.
All right.
Always.
All right.
You want to know why?
We'll give you that. Go ahead, tell me.
Because Mike Tyson was always out. He gave all of who he was to the public, whereas Jordan off the court, you didn't hear nothing about him.
Yeah, he was kind of
until later on in life.
Now he wants to tell his story like freaking 10, 12 years later.
And nobody cares.
Tyson, they've been made a movie. They've been made a movie about Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson went on the road and did a show about himself. Mike Tyson always put himself out there. There's no question about that.
We saw the worst, the best, and now the rebirth of Tyson. Very few people in this world would say that I would strip my soul that naked and just show it to the world. Very few people.
Yeah, and he told you the things he did wrong. He kind of admitted. It's almost like you said, it's a rebirth, it's a resurgence of the guy.
He lives off it. he actually lives off it, and in a sense, he beats himself down with it, but then he uses it as a tool, to uplift others. Because if you listen to his guests when they Shannon Briggs, man, I love. Let me tell you what, man. I love old Shannon Briggs when he was on the show with him, and Mike was doing what Mike does, and Mike was like, I was worthless, I was this, I was that. Shannon Briggs was like, chill, champ, chill, champ. You have me crying up in here, champ, chill, champ, chill.
I
I
love
love
Shannon
Shannon
Briggs. Like
Briggs, man.
Shannon Briggs is funny, man. I love to interview Shannon Briggs, bro. I love to get him on
Hey,
the
man.
podcast.
Try, man. Reach out,
Yeah,
make that call, because I would love to
yeah,
talk to that brother, man.
yeah. I'm gonna reach out. I'm gonna reach out and get him, man. Yeah, I think EJ's tied up, but yeah, man. I mean, I ain't got much more to say on the topic. I like I said, I still don't think it's a good thing when you got a fight in front of you with a guy that can punch, and you're still talking about the next man.
Not
He's.
that,
I still
but
don't like it. I still don't like it. Whether or not it played as big of a factor into it, or if it played any factor in it at all. To me, I gotta say it was a distraction, man. I gotta say it was a distraction. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I don't want to make excuses for the guy either, because I don't want to take away what Povetkin did. But same thing with Joshua. With the Andrew Ruiz fight, kept talking about Wilder, and I just don't like it, bro. I just don't like it.
to be honest with you, every fighter does that. To be honest, I mean, you got to think about this when Hopkins signed a fight for that 10 million to get Oscar, but he had
Yeah,
another fight prior to that. I
yeah,
doubt that he had the fight in front of him on his mind. He had the 10 million on his mind, right?
yeah. I guess it's human nature,
And
but
yeah,
you got
it's
to
just
fight
it's
that.
just
You got to fight that shit, though. You got to
yeah,
fight
yeah.
that shit.
You have to fight through it. You have to fight through it, man. Things like that happen, man. But I didn't see anybody else in the ring but those two men, and I saw a beautiful move, man. I saw it. I saw it, and I was like, this dude is well schooled, man. But to be honest with you, if you keep busy, he can't do what he does. He can, but he can't do it. He can't do it as a level that he wants to. Because if Price, okay, I'm going back to David Price against him now, right? If Price would have pop that jab and just kept moving, there's no way they would have saw his right hand coming. But I think Price
Yeah,
wanted to exchange with him, and you saw what happened with that, right?
yeah. You got to
You
keep him
just
occupied. You got to keep him occupied.
you have to keep him occupied. You can't give him any time, and please don't let him catch your timing. If he catches your timing and the fight's over, he's gonna kill you. Plain and simple.
No,
He's
I got
very
you.
well schooled, man. Very well
I
schooled
got you.
fighter. But I'm gonna jump off here because, as you can tell, I'm in here cooking, and you heard the tea. You heard the
Yeah, the
teapot
tea.
go
Yeah, I like the tea, man.
off.
Got the tea going on there,
Yeah,
man. I got you.
that's
I got
right.
you.
All right,
All right,
man.
man. Thanks for jumping on, man. Nice to talk to you as always. Have a good one, man. Be safe.
All right.
All right. Yeah, man. So I don't know, man. I again, there's going to be a second fight. I'm sure it's going to be announced probably in the next couple weeks. I guess the date from what we're hearing is going to be somewhere in December. I would favor Dillian Whyte again in the rematch. Like I said, I had the fight even in rounds, but Dillian Whyte had that huge fourth round, so obviously he was ahead. You could argue that maybe Povetkin won one round or whatever. But to me, Povetkin was in that fight. He was landing body shots. Dillian Whyte was a little bit economical in spots in that fight too. We talked about that he wasn't using the jab enough. So I think Povetkin, style-wise, will always give Whyte a good fight. But Whyte can't just stay on the inside with him like that. He can't allow Povetkin to set up shop up close, deep in that pocket like that. Whyte's got to, kind of make the fight a little bit more in the mid-range where he can crank up his hook and his uppercut. But Whyte's longer and taller, so why give Povetkin the advantage up close by shortening up the distance and making it easy for Povetkin to touch you? Give it a little, make a little space there and make Povetkin try to reach. But yeah, I'm going to favor Whyte in the rematch, but again, you can't sleep on Povetkin. But like I said, I don't think it's a good idea to keep talking about the next man when you got the guy in front of you. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully, He'll be ready for the rematch. I think Povetkin is always ready. Even though he's 40, he's still a threat. He's still hurting guys. He's still giving guys tough fights. He's never a guy that you can sleep on. So with that being said, man, that's all I got. Thank you guys for joining me in the chat. Always appreciate. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you, EJ. Thank you, Troy, for joining me on the live broadcast. And we will see you later, man. Talk to y'all soon. And make sure you check out the Ringside Reporter podcast every Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time with myself and Eric Lorda. All right. Peace out, everybody. Have a good one. EJ, you got any closing remarks before I jump off? What's up?
Yeah, man. I'm gonna say this, yeah. In boxing, we watch the fights, we make up predictions, but we never know. We all think we know until we find out when the fight's Povetkin, congratulations to Joe Smith. Sean Porter, yeah, it's good you had an easy one. Beeb, great show. Troy, keep doing your thing. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Shout out to Blood Boxing over there, Retro Sports and Documentary, and all the guys in the chat. Shout out to Mr. Boxing Today and all the others, man. I really appreciate you guys. We all support each other in this boxing community, and we keep it growing and growing and keep it bigger. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Thank you, EJ. Be safe, man. Talk to you guys soon. Have a good one, man. Peace out, everybody. Take care.